Confused about compostable packaging? Wish you knew how to turn it into a profit center for your brand? If you are, then stay tuned. At Brand Secrets and Strategies, you learn how to save valuable time and money, where you learn strategies to get your products on more store shelves and into the hands of more shoppers, empowering brands and raising the bar. Welcome. You've created a product that's going to revolutionize a category and disrupt the way people think about healthy eating. You've put all your love, sweat, and energy into creating a product that's going to change the world, but then you're forced to put it in a package that doesn't align with your product. You're forced to choose packaging that doesn't align with your mission and everything your brand stands for. You're forced to use packaging that will live in a landfill for many generations. If only there were a better alternative. Well, there is, and that's the focus of today's show. Compostable packaging is one of the most confusing topics in the industry. I attend a lot of trade shows and industry events. This is the biggest pain point that brands share with me. Would you like to uncomplicate the compostable packaging? Would you like to know how you can leverage it to grow sustainable sales for your brand? Today, you'll get your most pressing compostable packaging questions answered by the leading industry expert. Compostable packaging is something that's very near and dear to my heart because I too want to reduce the impact of waste on our planet. More importantly, my mission is to teach natural brands creative strategies that you can use to help get your products on more store shelves and into the hands of more shoppers. Packaging is the most overlooked asset that you have when it comes to your go-to-market strategy. Kelly Williams with Nature's Flex has been a huge help in making this complex topic simple and easy to understand. Let's face it, retail's pay to play. It's expensive. Small disruptive brands are at a significant competitive disadvantage. Over 80% of brands fail within the first year. I'm committed to change that. This requires that you adopt strategies that differentiate your brand and give you a significant competitive advantage. This requires that you stay away from the cookie-cutter strategies that your competitors rely on. Everything is negotiable, especially in this industry. What retailers want more than anything are loyal, committed shoppers that return time and time again. More customers in their store, a competitive advantage in their market, and a reasonable profit. Any brand that can help retailers achieve this can leverage it to gain better shelf placement, more promotional support, and better merchandising. Retailers want and need your help to stand out in their market. Savvy retailers already know how your brand is performing on their shelves. What they need are insights, actionable insights that they don't get from your competitors. This begins with your packaging. As always, thank you for listening. This show is about you and it's for you. In appreciation for your time, there's a downloadable guide for you at the end of every episode. I always include one free, easy to download, quick to digest strategy that you can instantly adopt and make your own. One that you can use to grow sustainable sales and compete more effectively with. Don't forget to go back and listen to previous episodes where I may answer some of your most pressing questions. You know, your bottlenecks, the things that keep you up at night. If you like this episode, share it with a friend, subscribe, and leave a review so you'll be the first to get new brand building content as soon as it becomes available. On these shorter episodes, there's a YouTube component where I may share visuals, illustrations to help illustrate what I'm talking about. You're going to want to check those out. If you like the YouTube videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like bell so that you get more brand building content as soon as it becomes available. Remember, the goal here is to get your product onto more store shelves and into the hands of more shoppers, including online. Your packaging makes a statement about your brand. In some cases, your packaging is your brand. It should work as hard as you do to attract shoppers and drive profitable sales in the category. This is the focus of all my content, which includes several collaborations with my good friend Kelly Williams of Nature's Flex on the podcast, in many courses, and on YouTube videos. You'll be certain to want to check those out. I'll be certain to put a link to all those resources on the podcast webpage and in the show notes. As you listen to different podcast episodes, you routinely hear me talk about how the customer that your brand drives into a retail store is far more valuable or far more important to the retailer than the ingredients in your product. This is not to make light of your product. The simple reality is that retailers are in business to make a profit, and they rely heavily on the customer that your brand drives in their store. Keep this in mind as you develop your go-to-market strategy and as you work to partner with retailers. Put a different way, The more you can help them achieve what they want, the more they're going to help you achieve what you want, which includes incremental opportunities to grow and scale your brand. That's the focus of this podcast and all of my content. So how does this work? As I mentioned before, retail's pay to play. It's expensive. This industry teaches you that you need to focus on your sales velocity alone when assessing the performance of your brand. Not only is this not true, but it can be very misleading. Let me explain. Big brands with deep pockets can buy velocity in the form of deep discounts, low prices, and a lot of promotions. As a small brand, that's out of your reach, as it should be. You should never try to compete on price alone or use the same strategies big brands rely on. The harsh reality is that big brands are struggling to grow sales, while at the same time small brands are responsible for all the sustainable growth across every category and every channel. This is something that I proved in my feature article that I wrote for the 2016 Category Management Handbook. I'll put a link to it in the podcast show notes and on the podcast webpage. The key findings in this article identified that organic, gluten-free, plant-based, non-GMO, etc. was responsible for sustainable growth across every category, and in the absence of those products, everything would be flat or declining. Let me use organic to highlight this. Total outlet dairy sales were up 1.5%, while organic sales were up 12.1%. Organic dairy represented only 9.8% of a multi-billion-dollar category. When organic dairy was removed, total dairy sales would be 0.5%. The same is true across every other category. The point is this: the customers that understand and appreciate the value of your products are going to spend more in the retail store. That's going to drive more profitable at retail. In addition to that, the customer that buys organic in this example will also buy organic products across other categories. Thus, the customer is more valuable to the retailer at checkout. This is called their market basket. So how does this apply to your packaging? Shoppers today want to feel good about the products that they purchase, and a big part of that is your packaging. Shoppers today want products that do not contribute to the landfill. The challenge is that there's a lot of confusion around compostability and what that means. The harsh reality is that most single-use packaging ends up in the landfill, even though it is compostable. This is extremely disheartening, especially when it comes to natural brands. Consider this: if a shopper has a choice between two similar products, they will choose the product that best aligns with what matters to them. This includes your packaging. If your product has backyard compostable packaging and your competitor's product does not, they might be more inclined to choose yours or to buy yours. They might be more inclined to buy the product that is committed to reducing their impact on landfills. A big reason for this is that this industry really doesn't have a good strategy at this point to handle compostable packaging. It's simply not cost effective. While I could go on and on about this, I highly recommend that you check out some of the other content that I created with my good friend Kelly Williams that highlights this and why it matters. In the mini courses and on the YouTube channel, you can see the slides that Kelly uses to illustrate why this matters and how you need to be thinking about this as you develop your packaging strategy. I'll put links to those podcast episodes and the YouTube videos in the show notes and on the podcast webpage. Another thing Kelly talks about a lot are creative strategies that you can use to leverage your packaging as a profit center. Imagine having your packaging work as hard as you do to sell your brand. Wouldn't that be great? There are a lot of creative ways that you can do this, but before we explore that, at the heart of this technology is the ability to personalize every package. Yes, you heard me right. You can personalize each package. One of the key sales drivers for customers is personalization. Customers want products that speak to their individual needs. Customers want what they want and when they want it. And the brands that can deliver that are the brands that are going to have a distinct competitive advantage in the future. When you have the ability to customize the packaging, you can also have links back to your website to help educate consumers about your brand, your mission, and encourage them to participate in your brand community. You can also leverage your packaging strategy to reward loyal shoppers, thus improving your trade promotion ROI, what you spend to grow your brand. This is a topic I'll go greater into depth with in future podcast episodes. Another great strategy is that you could create custom packaging for a specific event or a specific retailer within a specific event. You could co-promote with another brand or even leverage your packaging with a special incentive program to build brand awareness or mission awareness and grow sales. I remember when I worked for Kimberly-Clark that we had a NASCAR and that we would paint the retailer's logo on it for different events in different cities. This was extremely popular, especially in the South. These promotions were extremely successful, and the co-branding with the retailer did a lot to drive incremental sales to the brand as well as to the retailer. This is a win-win for both of us. Imagine being able to do that with something as simple in your local community or with your local retailer. You're truly limited by your imagination when it comes to your unique and disruptive strategies that you can leverage on your packaging to help drive traffic and sales to your retail partners. It all begins with giving shoppers what they want and making it easy for them to get excited about your brand and what it stands for. I'll include links to all the packaging-related content on the podcast webpage and in the podcast show notes. Today's free guide is how to get onto more store shelves. This gives you several key strategies that you can use to get your brand on more store shelves and into the hands of more shoppers. You can get it by going to brandsecretsandstrategies.com/session177. Now here's the question of the day. How do you leverage your packaging to build brand awareness and to drive sales? What strategies would you use if you could customize your packaging and personalize it? Leave your comments below. I read every one of them. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.